So today we're going to look at a fuel tank from a 2000 Mazda Miata, and this is a follow-up to a video that we did a few weeks ago. In that video we show the symptoms of this issue, which was basically the car was stalling when you'd try to drive, and I'll put a link to that video in the comments for this one. So go ahead and check that out. But this is what we found inside of the fuel pump and the fuel tank. So we went ahead and removed all the screws here for this access panel. So like 8 or so of them around there. And this will give us the full access to the fuel pump, the level sensor, the regulator. I should specify the regulator for the NB is in the pump here. So right here we've got, this is the actual sensor for the fuel gauge. There's a float that actuates that. And then down here is the actual fuel pressure regulator itself. It's located inside of the tank. And then we've got the pump and the little filter sock for the pickup. So right away you can see there's some issues here. You can see all this corrosion on the underside. And I used to actually think that that was rust, but I think it's actually fuel vapor that has sort of evaporated and then formed solids inside the tank. And that's what was causing the issue on this car. So you can see if we look at the sock here, it's all completely filled up with gunk, and that's what was restricting the fuel flow. Now you would say, maybe we can just replace that sock and continue on, but the entire inside of the tank is covered with this stuff. And so if you replace the sock, it would probably only be a temporary fix. So you can see all of it in there. Down in the bottom, that's where the pickup goes. And there's actually, it's all like in the surface. And you can just see all these flakes. So even if you replace the sock, there's just sort of no way to clean out the tank effectively. All of that debris and all that sort of coating in there, I believe all of that comes from the actual fuel vapor kind of evaporating, condensating, and drying up around the tank. So this, we have seen this several times in different cars at the shop here. Probably see at least 1 or 2 of them a year. And as far as I can tell, this is just a symptom of sitting for many years. And I think one of the biggest ways that you could potentially prevent this issue is certainly if you at least get your car out a couple times a year and drive it, and you know, get fresh fuel in it. That definitely helps. One of the other things that I recommend is that when you store your vehicle over the winter, it's probably not a huge deal, but especially if you're not going to be driving it for a couple of years or something, definitely store it with a full tank. Fill it up to the top, maybe even add some kind of like stable or, you know, fuel stabilizer may help a little bit as well. But I think just not having you know, air inside of the tank can help a lot. So that's how we solved the problem. We ended up swapping this tank out. And if you're doing this at home, pulling this tank is kind of a big job. You have to pull the whole subframe out, the whole rear suspension, and then you can get to the tank. But if you want to see if you have this issue before you go through all that trouble, it's actually not that difficult. So we've got a car here. We're actually replacing the convertible top on this one. So we already have the carpet and the top of it out. But what it does is gives us a good view here. So normally there'd be carpet across this shelf, and there's just a couple of clips that go in down here, and you can pop those up and peel the carpet back. And then there'll be some Phillips screws that hold this panel in. We've got all these panels out because the convertible top was leaking and all the panels rusted through, so we're putting some fresh ones in. But you take out the Phillips screws that hold this in, and And then underneath there is that access panel and the whole top of the fuel tank. So it's actually pretty easy to get to. The only tool you would really need is a screwdriver. You can pop those tabs up, lift the carpet, then take this cover off here, and then basically you can just squeeze these to disconnect the fuel lines, and then take the Phillips screws out. And then I believe this is a 7mm for this little bracket, which is kind of annoying. But then you'd be able to pull that out just like I demonstrated and look around inside the tank, see if this issue could possibly be something that that's giving you trouble. Yeah, and then of course too, if it's the fuel pump itself, or very commonly we see this hose here go bad and will start to split. And so the fuel pump's working fine, but you're losing pressure here. So you won't get enough fuel pressure, and people have a tendency to just think it's the pump and replace the pump. And if you don't replace this hose, you might end up back in the same place. So just a couple things about the Miata fuel system here. So yeah, like I said, in the description we'll have the link for the actual symptoms video that goes with this. So check it out, and post anything in the comments. I'll try to get back to you if you have any questions or want more information. All right, thanks for watching, guys.